Hello beautiful people, how you all doing today? Hope you guys are doing great. My name is Tochi. If you see my face for the first time, you are welcome to my channel. Please consider subscribing to my channel, please. If you love my content, please subscribe. I know you're gonna love it, you're gonna love me, so please subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button now, okay? And I assure you that you won't regret it. And to my returning subscribers, you guys are wonderful. Thank you all for your support. The love is overwhelming, guys. Thank you so much. I really appreciate. God bless you all. So guys, today we have a special guest in our midst. So my husband is here on our channel officially for the first time today. So guys, I brought him here today just for you guys. So let's allow him to introduce himself. So over to you.
Hello guys, my name is Tochi and happy to be here today. Thank you for watching if you're watching this video, and thank you for subscribing to our channel if you've done that.
Our channel
is our channel. And for always encouraging her, so I really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome to our channel. So guys, please just tell him welcome in the comment section, okay? Now we're here to answer all your questions, okay? You guys know that we announced that we bought a house in the UK within 2 years of our arrival in the UK, and we've got lots of questions. You know, people just want to know how we did it, so we are here to answer all your questions, okay? We're going to make this video as detailed as possible, so the video might come in 2 parts or 3 parts. I don't want it to be too long because I know that some people are kind of bored when they watch long videos. Some people don't like watching long videos. We want to tell you guys everything, how it's done, how we did it. So I think it's going to come in like maybe 2 or 3 parts. We'll tell you guys the general overview, how to go about buying a house in the UK, and then how we went about saving money, you know, how we're able to achieve this in just 2 years. So that's pretty much it. Let's not waste much time. Let's just get right into the video. Okay, so can you just tell us how it all started?
So basically, it all started before we came into this country. Before I came into the UK, I did a lot of reading about the country, a lot of things, generally how life works here. I spent hours and hours reading about it, doing my research. And obviously, while doing that, I was trying to plan a course for myself and my family once we moved in here, because already we were planning to come here and everything. So one of the things I had on my list, you know, was in our first 18 months to 2 years to move into our own property. That was because I found that you can actually buy a property in the UK without having to pay 100% the cost of the property. If you put down anything from 5% of the property up until, you know, any percentage you have, the bank can actually give you the balance to pay for the house. It's called a mortgage. I'm sure most of you know what it means. So basically with that, I knew if I'm able to raise 5 or 10% of the cost of a house, I can actually get my own house within a space of 18 months to 2 years. So that was when it all started. And as we had the plan, we had, you know, steps we took, and I'm glad we were able to achieve it in just about 2 years, because I came into the UK 2019, and we sort of like bought the house, or sort of like, you know, finalized on the property sometimes in July 2021, so which is less than 2 years into when I came in. Then we had to wait for the house to be built, because it's a brand new house. It was built over 5 to 6 months, and we moved in December. So it all began with a plan, really. So if you want to buy a house in the UK, you have to be strategic, you have to have plans, you have to have what you want to do. It's not a random thing. It's not something that just happens like a, you know, like randomly. You really have to know what you want. Yeah, I have to be intentional. That's the right word to use. So that was how it all started, really.
So talking about that, that also influenced our decision as to where we eventually settled in the UK, because you know that some places are more expensive to live in than the other. I've actually made a video on my channel of top cheapest cities to live in the UK, and even top most expensive cities to live in the UK. Okay, so yeah, go and see that video if you've not seen it. Okay, so that actually influenced our decision as to where we are living right now, because yeah, I think my husband we're actually privileged to get, you know, job offers in some cities, but you know, we did our research and we discovered that houses here are quite affordable. So that was one of the reasons why we decided to settle for where we are living right now, and as God will have it, we're here today. So yeah.
So yeah, I think she made a valid point, because In the UK, you can actually know what the cost of a house is in any town, whether for rent or for sale. It's not a hidden information. If you go to Rightmove or Zoopla or On the Market, these are three major websites where properties are listed in the UK, either properties for rent or properties for sale. So you simply go in there, put in your location, put in the kind of house you want, be a 3-bedroom house, a 4-bedroom house, a flat, a 2-bedroom house. It will tell you how much you can rent the house for or how much you can buy a house for. Basically, it shows you all the house advertised within that area. So while back in Nigeria, I went through these websites, saw the cost of housing in different parts of the UK, and sort of like worked out what my potential earning was going to be and where I can readily afford not just the 5 or 10% I needed, but also based on what I would potentially be earning, how much banks can give me. So I did find out all these things before we came into the country. So just to touch on that, how it works is that if you're taking a mortgage, the bank takes your income and multiplies it by 4.5. I'm just giving like a rough figure. There's some other factors that come into play, but basically it's like a guiding principle for me. And we took a joint mortgage where we both own the house. So it's our income combined that the bank looked at and saw how much we can be giving. So basically we looked for a place where our earning could afford us a certain kind of house, basically. I mean, but if you can afford the big expensive towns, why not? But we just felt we had a place we could start from and build from there and see what the future holds. Basically, most importantly for us was getting into the property on the property ladder. So we had to sort of work with what's available to us at the time.
So like he said, the first step is actually having a plan, knowing what you want, and then be intentional about it. You have to work towards it. Okay, that's the first step. So now, having said that, now move to the next point, and that is the financial aspect. Because you can't talk about buying a house, so talking about money. Yeah. So let's hear what you have to say about the financial aspect of buying a house in the UK.
Okay, so like I said, you need about at least 5% of the cost of the house. So if the house is £100,000, you need £5,000 as deposit, at least. You can go higher, and the higher you go, the better. For us, we did 10% of the cost of our house. The more percent you drop, the better interest rate you will get, technically or theoretically. It might not always work that way, but that's what it's assumed to be. But the most important thing is you need to know how you want to raise your deposit, because you cannot go and view properties or go and speak to a developer. Like in our own case, we went to a developer who was building houses without having your deposit, or at least 70% of your deposit ready. So you need to have a financial plan on how you intend to raise your deposit, whether you want to save it, whether you want to invest and raise the money from your salary. But the point is, you cannot borrow the deposits from somebody, all right? Because if somebody pays money into your accounts, let me just say this: when you start the process, they'll look into your records, into your bank accounts. We gave them access to our bank accounts. They looked everything. They tore it into pieces and saw everything we've done financially. So if a huge amount of money comes into your account, you're going to explain to the bank where that money came from. So if your parent gives you the deposit, they have to give you a letter stating that they actually gifted you this money. And they're going to even include their national insurance number in such letter so that they can be checked out properly. So you can't just come in and go and borrow the deposit and say you want to buy a house. You have to save it up from your income or from your investments. If it's from family, then they have to write a letter stating that they gifted you that deposit. So you must have a plan on how to save your deposit. We're going to share how we saved our own deposit in much detail later, but you must have a plan on how to save your deposit. Then aside your deposit, there are other fees you're going to incur. So it depends. We bought a brand new house. If you're buying a brand new house, you're going to have to sort of like do some things on the house, like let's say flooring, if it's not part of what your developer is giving you. Do things like your curtains, do things like maybe garden or whatever. There are some things you spend money on. Then you spend money also on your solicitor, which will come to that later, which is in over £1,000, for instance. So not just your deposit now, you also have to save some other expenses you're going to incur in the process of buying a house, which runs into thousands of pounds. So you do your research and know what you need for your deposit then I would say, as a guiding principle, anywhere between £3,000 to £5,000 extra in your account, as at the point you're going to move into the house, for a few things you're going to spend your money on. And if you're not buying a new house, which I've not bought, I've only bought a new house, I've not bought an old house, but you could buy an old house that needs to be repainted or to be renovated, so you need to keep that in mind. But in this video, I think we'll focus on speaking on new houses, because that's the experience we have. Even though we have knowledge about buying an old house, we restrict ourselves to buying a new house because that's what we've done and we can share from our experience.
Okay, now still talking about the financial aspects of getting a house, what would you advise somebody now who is coming into the UK to do immediately he gets into the UK? Probably somebody who is watching us right now and wants to get a house as soon as possible. What would you advise the person to do or start doing as soon as he gets into the UK? Does he have to wait till he gets his permanent residency? Does he have to wait for a particular number of years in the UK? Just basically, what do you advise a person who wants to get a house to do, on arrival in the UK?
Okay, so basically, one of the first things I did when I came in was I was conscious of a thing called credit score in the UK. So it's like a number, it's a score you're given by credit rating agencies in the UK. There are three major ones. I won't go into all that in this video. By the way, I'm not a financial or a mortgage advisor or a real estate agent. I'm just a normal person like you watching this video. So this is purely my personal research and experience. Please don't take it as a financial advice. So there's what we call credit score in the UK. So basically it's like a score you're given, all right, to tell lenders, that's banks, service providers, people that give you services or finances on credit, that you are financially responsible or not. It's a score that tells them how good or bad you are in terms of getting credit or getting loans, something like that. So once I came into the UK, knowing these facts, I immediately told my bank that I needed a credit card as soon as I came into the UK, even before I was paid my first salary. And the bank said, okay, fine, we'll give it to you, but wait until your first salary gets into your account. So I got a credit card in less than 2 months of coming into the UK, and so most of my mates were asking me, what are you doing with that? But I had a plan, so I went straight away for it and I got it. So credit card is basically just a credit card, if you know what it means, or you can just check it out for yourself. So with that, I was borrowing money every month, spending on the credit card and paying back the next month. So I was showing the banks and every other person interested to know that I am responsible financially. So I started building my credit history in the UK as soon as I came into the UK. At the point we went for the house and got a mortgage offer from the bank, I wasn't up to 2 years in the UK. I was about one year, 8 months or thereabouts. My wife was barely a year in the UK. So we didn't have such a long time in the country to have credit history. So if you're coming into the UK and you want to buy a house as soon as possible, you must be cautious of your credit score and establish your credit history so that banks and potential lenders can see you as a financially responsible person, or else you might need a longer time in the country for you to be able to access loans, and mortgage is a loan, obviously. Then I think also you don't have to wait until you get your permanent residency. We don't have one, for instance. However, that can impact how much the banks are willing to borrow you. Let me explain. There's what they call loan to value ratio, LTV. So loan to value ratio is how much loan of the value of the house the banks are going to give you. So let me give an example. If you put down 10% of the cost of a house and the bank gives you 90%, the loan to value ratio of that mortgage is 90% in simple terms. So at the point we're trying to get a mortgage, most banks were not willing to go above 75% for people without permanent residence in the UK. I don't know why. That changed at some point. So we had to use a government-backed scheme to increase our loan to value ratio, which we're going to explain to you in our own step-by-step process. It's a help to buy scheme by the government. So really the point is just make sure you're on top of your game information-wise. Do thorough research, and once you have information, you're armed, basically. So I would say make sure you start building your credit history. As soon as you come into the UK, make sure you start thinking about your credit history and stay on top of your game information-wise, and that will sort of guide you, on what to do in terms of buying a house in the UK.
Okay, thank you very much. So moving on now, let's move to the next thing. We've talked about having a plan, and then we've talked about having the money.
Yeah.
So now, once you have your deposit or part of your deposit, what is the next step that you need to take?
Okay, so basically the next step you need to do is you can start looking at properties all at all points in your planning and everything, just so that you know what you're working towards. But then once you have your deposit or part of your deposit and you feel like, okay, it's time for you to make that step, I would strongly advise you speak to a mortgage advisor. You can apply for mortgage on your own, no doubt, but I would strongly advise you speak to a mortgage advisor. And bear this in mind, from my experience, mortgage advisors are paid by the banks when they give you a mortgage, so you don't have to pay them. So don't worry, don't be scared about speaking to your mortgage advisor. We spoke to a mortgage advisor and we sat down with him over the phone, and he asked us lots of questions. So this is where the rubber hits the road. So he will ask you questions about how much you earn, ask you how much you spend on your rent, on your car insurance, on your, if you're financing your car, if you have debts. He's going to ask you thorough questions about your finances. Then he's going to ask, they're going to ask access to your bank account to kind of see what comes in and how you spend your money. They're going to ask you for your 3 months pay slip. In our own case, we submitted pay slips of the last 3 months of everything we've earned. They even asked my wife to get a letter from my employer, right?
Yes, because I'm currently on maternity leave. I've been on maternity leave for a while, so I'm still on maternity leave, even during the process of the whole thing. So I had to get a letter from my employer stating, first of all, that I work with them, and then how much I earn, how many times in a week I work, and when I'm likely to come back to work, and things like that. So I got a letter from my employer to the mortgage advisor and then to the bank. So if you're coming into the UK, probably as a dependent, as the case may be, I would advise that you get a job as soon as possible, because it helps increase your affordability. Of course, they're going to look at the combined income of the both of you, except you don't want to be a co-owner of the property. Yeah,
so that's what she said is very important, because the two of you's income we put together to work out how much you can afford in terms of getting a mortgage from the bank. So yeah, with that, the mortgage advisor is going to put all the information he gets from you guys. They're going to ask you for identity documents, proof of address, rights to live and work in the UK. They're going to ask you for lots of paperwork, possibly even your contract at work to say you have an employment. And I would strongly advise as well, have a full-time employment. If you're an agency staff, it might not be so easy, because in our case, they asked for our full-time job pay slips. Not any job you do outside your full-time job. They wanted regular guaranteed income. Yeah, so it's always good you have that in mind. If you use agency pay slips, it might not work out well. I'm not sure, but based on our experience, the bank did not accept any pay slip that is not our full-time job pay slips. So keep that in mind. Then the mortgage advisor will put all these documents together and get you what is called an agreement in principle. You can get these things yourself, but it's best speaking to a mortgage advisor,
Yeah, I agree. Sorry. I agree, because speaking with a mortgage advisor helps. Because in our case, remember that the mortgage advisor got the first bank for us, and then later on he came back and said the bank
pulled out of the agreement. Yeah, so we got a mortgage agreement in principle with a particular bank, and after we got a letter and everything from them, but after a while they changed their minds and we had to go for another bank.
And it was the mortgage advisor that did all that.
Yeah. So if you were doing it as a person, you probably, I don't know, I just feel like it's best to use these guys, and we didn't pay a dime to the mortgage advisor.
Yeah, so, because I think they already have their ways around it.
Yeah, in the agreement, the bank will state how much they will pay the advisor if at the end of the day you take the mortgage. So get an advisor, get an agreement in principle. Then with this agreement in principle from the bank, you would now use it to go and officially look for a house. If it's an old house, you can make offers to people who put their house on the market for sale. If it's a new house, you take this agreement in principle to the developer, that's a company building the houses, and select the kind of house you want based on how much the bank has put in that agreement that they are going to borrow you in principle. So it's an agreement, not a binding agreement, but an agreement that they potentially can borrow you that money. So it's not binding on the bank to fulfill that promise. However, it's something that you require if you want to put in an offer for a house. Yeah.
So now we're done with that for now. Yeah, we've gotten the agreement in principle. It shows that yes, we can actually afford to buy a house. So what's the next thing? Do you just go into any house you see and say, I've come to buy a house? Or so just tell us what's the next thing?